Greetings, everyone, and thank you for joining the conversation. This is your host, CJ Ward, and I'm joined again with my co-host, Dana Branham. Dana, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I can't complain. Another day above ground, so it's a great day.
Hey, listen, we can talk about that all day. Yes, absolutely. It's a blessing to be here.
Absolutely. So now here again, a Conscientious Conversation is termed as a conversation that only requires two or more willing individuals, an open and honest conversation, a conversation with the intent of improving the quality of life for the entire country and not just a select group of this United Nation. So let us have a seat and discuss. So today, Dana and I are joined by the awesome, the dynamic, the talented Miss Sondra Slade. How you doing today, Sondra?
Hey, thank you all for having me on.
Hey, Sondra.
Hey. Hey, girl. I like that. Hey, girl. I always want to use it.
Yes.
I knew you two would get along, so it's great to see that.
Of course.
So, yes, Miss Slade. My apologies, Miss Slade.
You don't have to keep calling me that. That's okay. My mom
okay,
called me.
It's all about respect over here, so just try to make sure. But would you mind introducing yourself to the people? I know you have you literally wear a lot of hats, so definitely would like you to introduce yourself to the folks.
All right. Hello, everyone. I am a stand-up comedian, a storyteller. I also host a podcast, Laughter and Lyrics. I write funny stories for Focus Black Oklahoma. And occasionally I'm a mom. That's on occasion when my teenager feels like it. I also write short stories for different articles. So that's in a nutshell what I do. And then I host comedy shows and storytelling events.
Awesome.
And a corporate job on top of all of that. So yeah.
You talk about wearing hats. I think she has more hats than I have. And I have a lot of hats that I'm trying to get rid of some of them.
I do. I've learned a lot. I'm like, now instead of a hat, I'm just going to wear a wrap and unwrap it when I feel like it.
Right. I may have to take that on, like have it a little bit and then take it back. Mm-hmm.
Take it back, yes.
Got it.
Absolutely. So as everyone has just heard, a woman of many talents, skill sets, and expertise. So actually, would you mind me sharing the story of how we met and everything?
Oh, well, that was my first art showing. I didn't mention artists, did I? Yeah, I do art and jewelry. So, because I have nothing else to do but live life, and this is great. I mean, and that was my first art showing, and I luckily met Mr. Ward, who is a phenomenal artist. So I felt like throwing my stuff in the trash, but it was still sitting out there. You got to try. He gave me the yay, good try, and I was like, oh, so I got like one of the gold stars, but it was good.
Wow.
But then I met him through. I mean, it happens. That was my first time, so that was a whole new medium I had never tried, and I was nervous, but met Mr. Ward, and he told me it was at the Tulsa Remote group, and as a Tulsa native, it kind of threw me off, like, why are they bringing people in here and we got people? Mm-hmm. That was my first thought, and then I thought about, like, wait a minute, what are they bringing to the table? They're bringing all different kinds of arts, their creative sense, a fresh look at life. I lived in Atlanta for a lot of years, so I grew up somewhat in Tulsa. I grew up in Atlanta when I came back, and I'm thinking, it's a fresh start. It's sometimes you need a new lens. And I was like, okay, so a welcoming breath of fresh air that shines some light on some things in Tulsa that not even some Tulsa residents know.
Been through that?
Yes.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. So CJ, that reminds me of our conversation about exposure. Right.
Right.
And so when you just mentioned you were in Atlanta for a little while, of course, that exposes you to things that obviously the Tulsa natives, Tulsa, what would I say, non-travelers, would be exposed to. And that brings that lens that you're talking about back to the table. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it is not appreciated.
Yes.
Right. Yes. But then, you have to kind of make your mark. It's hard. Sorry to do that.
I mean, everyone that I've met through the Tulsa Remote program, I'm impressed and like, wow. And like, how do we keep you here? Because we have our own residents that are, the younger ones are getting ready to leave because they don't see what they bring to the table. They don't see what they could bring to the table. So I appreciate everyone here. I just wish they would do things a little differently with the Tulsa Remote, like introduce them to the culture, community. I'm gonna just put it like that. The actual people that are moving things in the community so that they can work together and actually make it a better place.
Okay.
I'm in total agreement. Prior to our meeting, which the art show that Ms. Slade is referring to is it was an exhibition with the Living Arts of Tulsa. And it's basically exhibit speaking about the Tulsa race massacre since, the centennial and everything. So if it wouldn't have been for that, I'm not sure if we would have met or not. Because, I came there during the pandemic. A lot of things
I do a lot of different things, but I wouldn't have, naturally, comedy and art doesn't always go together. But fortunately, also, I had a show at the time that we had an artist and we would have comedians so that you could get two different exposures. So they have Mr. Ward on that, which that was a different kind of exposure. And artists do die of exposure that people don't talk about. Like, just do it for free. I was like, I can't do everything for free. Cops want their money on time. They don't care about my exposure. They want their money on time. When I have to pay my gas bill, I'm like, hey, I did 3 shows. They don't care. They
right.
Money. Right, they still want that money.
It's interesting you say that. I just made a decision. I've been doing something financially. I've been doing financial tips on Facebook, Instagram. Some used to be on LinkedIn even. For the span of 9 years, I took a year off when I was transitioning, moving, and I just decided the end of the year is it. I've been giving away all kind of free information.
Let me slide in there real quick. Let me slide.
You got 3 weeks, sis.
I got 3 weeks. Okay.
No, but for real, it's I wouldn't mind to do it. But when I kind of evaluate how much time and effort am I putting out?
Yes.
And I'm not in a position to advise and get business right now. But when I was, people were sucking up the information, right? And then when it was time to do business, they didn't do business with me. So I'm like, okay. So I've already tempered from that point, but even now I'm thinking, no, I got to make a shift and do something different with that so that I can live.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I get it. You can't do things for free all the time.
No, I mean, I do some shows for free, of course. Yeah. But at the bulk, I also produce shows and I have to be responsible for paying people. So they don't want to go home just saying, hey, I got on this show and this helps. I was like, we need to pay it forward. And that was actually the whole point of Greenwood Black Wall Street is circulate our dollars amongst ourselves. And some of us have not learned that institution.
Yeah. What do you think the hindrance is to that? Why haven't we learned it? Because it's not rocket science. It makes perfect sense. Why have we not learned it? Especially when you tell me that the folks in Tulsa and Greenwood haven't learned it, then what's the people in Danville, Kentucky doing? Right?
Well, see, I think about because I left and CJ and I had this conversation because I left for a number of years and came back again, like the Tulsa Remote, whole new eyes, whole new mindset, whole new this is how we operate together. Because being here, you're also taught, let's not talk about that. That's history that we don't want to talk about because it's not pretty. And a lot of times we don't want to talk about those things because if I'm paying you to do something, I'm essentially giving you money. Your money and my money both goes to the taxes that pay for the school that our kids go to. But we don't recognize that. We're used to, if I give to you, I won't have, and I can give over here. And we're okay with that mentality and not opening up our minds to thinking, hey, you know what? All of this works for all of us. We've left the concept of the band of sticks together is stronger than the one stick by itself because we stopped learning that. Some of that is social media. Some of that is just knowing if I got it, you can get it. And that's actually nothing that we I feel as a people originated from. So
Interesting. Okay.
So you think that maybe, I guess, a result of, and follow me for a minute, maybe integration? And the reason I say that, back when, segregation, we really had to depend on each other. We really didn't have a choice. But then once integration came, just, think about research and just, stuff I've been studying, it's like it gave us a sense, and I say us because, it's really all us. But there was all right, look, now that I can go over here, I just want to be the only one. Let me exclude.
Yes.
And just even to the present time, what do you think some of the effects besides, the understanding of the need to support each other and, really being a village, what are some of the things that you think came from that ideology of when we segregated, we really depended on each other. Once we became integrated, we started to get away from the community. And I think that's why there has been a lot of trauma that still remains, because we just don't talk about it because we don't know how to really unite yet. Because we're still not, we're not segregated. We're integrated into a society that, thinking about the Constitution, we weren't considered, a whole human being, just 3/5. So how do you think that is really, besides, like I said, the support in the community, how do you really think that has impacted just history and us right now?
I don't know. For me, I look at it as we haven't been taught to love each other. Like, we ain't even taught sometimes to love ourselves. It's taken, we just now have had repeated Miss USAs, Miss Universes that look like us. So if we're consistently being taught to not value ourselves, I'm not going to value my brother because I can't even value myself. I don't even see myself as love. I also take that as, like my mom, she marched in Washington in the 60s. And we had a whole argument about integration. And I said, integration cost us so much more. Because like you said, okay, well, so-and-so down the street, the shoe place down the street that's now integrated is allowing us to go in where there's tipping shoes, and I've known them for years, but I don't want them to have nothing because they drive around in a newer car than I am, so I'm gonna go over here. Because I haven't learned how to value that, because they're doing well and they're actually giving back to the community, it's gonna help me. So we lost that. My mom will say, well, we got it better. I said, well, we did do some things great, but we also lost that community because we don't know we haven't learned how to love ourselves. If you look at the mural that's on OSU Tulsa, it is Black trauma. We can show Black trauma in the Black community. I don't need to know it. Let's show the Black trauma in the South where it came from. So then now we can all understand and we can continue with our community. But when we consistently show trauma as entertainment for Black people, or, hey, look, you went through this, I feel so sad, but here you go, you can see it over and over again, I'm not going to value it as much. I'm going to become desensitized to it and desensitized to my community and their needs. And I think some of that is the church. Put that out there.
Okay.
We have to explore that part.
Let's go there.
Can't leave that thing hanging out there.
Yeah. Hey, please continue. Right.
Think about it. I'm not a regular churchgoer. However, I know I'm always getting hit up. Hey, so-and-so's church is having this. And I'm thinking, wow. But at the same time, we have other churches, white churches, that are pouring into our community. In Tulsa, we have, it's 2 churches within a stone's throw of my house. Neither one are pouring into the school that's a block away. But this was our cornerstone. This was our mecca of, this was our communication hub, was the church. That's all we had. Yeah. And we're not communicating like we should. We're not putting our own feet to task at the end. Some of the preachers are not themselves. So.
They are not. I would agree with that. So I'm from Lexington, Kentucky. I live in live in Charlotte, North Carolina now. Haven't found a church home. Been here 3 years. Looked around, just haven't found one. So I'm still connected to a church that I started attending virtually before pandemic and before everybody else in Louisville, Kentucky, Bates Memorial. One of the things I love about that church is I can see firsthand what the impact they're making on the community.
That makes a difference.
Versus my home church, won't say the name, but my home church in the hood. I don't want to put anybody out there like that, but people who know me will know. But in the hood, and when I tell you, I lived through 2.5 ice storms. You, of course, would know that there are drugs in the area and all this stuff. And I question, what are we doing about this? Why have we not taken these people in? We want to feed them on Wednesday for lunch and then not worry about them till next Wednesday. What are we doing? Man. We had, break-ins on the street next to the church. We weren't the ones who went and fixed the door that was knocked in or the windows that were broken out. Just a number of things that I could name that disheartened me to what is the real mission. I know the mission of what's the church supposed to be, but what's the mission of this one? What is this church doing to improve? And so you talk about a school down the street, supposedly adopted the school, but then it comes vacation Bible school time, and those aren't the kids we go get to bring to vacation Bible school.
Yes. That's what
we want to send the bus all the way across town. And the kids are right down the street, and we can walk and get them.
Yeah. Then y'all doing bus ins?
Bus in. Why are we doing bus in? And the kids right there. Right. There's a whole school. We could take vacation Bible school to the school.
There you go.
You see what I'm saying?
I feel you, because I look at them, and if they're not pouring in, I was like, and you have to see that. You have to see that connect. Like, I don't see the community feeding. I have like one school, they're getting clothes from a white church, and all the residents are mad. I was like, but you standing right there. You're not going to the school to see if the kids are reading, if they fed, but you don't want nobody else to do it. And I was like, so to me, in our mindset, it's not that crab in a barrel, because I think crabs are going to pull up regardless. But if you lay them all flat, they're going to stay there. But they're going to pull. They're not going to pull each other down. They're just trying to get out of a barrel. Now, if they were all flat, they just going to lay there. I'm like, we don't not learn that. Like,
that's real. That's real.
That is.
So it's
I'm gonna say somebody's church in Atlanta. I used to go there when I was a pole CAU student, and because I wasn't putting in my ties, I got pulled to the side. Like, hey, and I said, I'm a college student. Well, you got some type of money. Is this a shakedown in the church? What you doing?
X.
But, so that was just shout out along. Okay, there you go.
When you talk about ties, though, people just think about money. I'm like, you tie your time, like, and that's something you can't get back. So that's real sacrifice. It's interesting that the analogy you made about the crabs that were laid flat, and they would just stay there. And some people say they won't change, but then when change comes, they want to reject it because not center attention. But yeah, I definitely have some experience with that. I grew up church, vacation Bible school. Mother was secretary of the church, everything else. Father was a deacon. And then once I went out on my own, I just noticed, like, coming to certain towns. Then when we were talking about the conversation, when I come to a new place and like seeing things, same stuff really apply. You catch traffic coming out of church. It's just like, I've been guilty sometimes. I had some stuff on my mind just ready to get away from people, but like people peeling out. And it's like, oh, so that's really how you are. Yeah. And then, won't get into some of my experience with women in the church. We'll just leave that there. Set that there. And we'll leave that. But just going to, new places. Like I would come into church, and it was like most of the churches that I visited, shout out to those, kind individuals that did reach out and were really a good Samaritan. I really appreciate y'all. because the other experience I had was every church I would, come in, they'd have you, introduce yourself mid in front of everybody. Like, what if you're an introvert? What if you have social anxiety? Well, we want y'all to get up and stand.
I don't even go. And I'm not standing up. If I think that that's what you're going to do, I'm not doing that.
Oh, I have been pulled to the front and I'm like, I'm not. I just slid in here. Y'all better be quiet.
Hey,
and as CJ knows, I'll leave too. Hey. If anything goes awry, I'm leaving.
I will tip out with the church finger. Goodbye. Yeah. No.
Yeah, I'm not even putting a finger up. I'm just leaving. I'm packing my stuff up and I'm out.
So, all right. I'm glad you made that reference, because sometimes there's references like we need to really understand the origins of why we do certain things. So does everybody know where the church finger came from?
I just know that meant shut up when my mom was in the choir. Like, if you get one more time, that was my one more time, and then that was you leave. You can permission to leave. That's what I know.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot.
I only take it to mean excuse me, but I don't know where it came from. Do you know?
I do.
You know?
So
enlighten us.
Enlighten us, brother.
Well, stemming from slavery. When the plantation owner may have brought someone to, share religion with the slaves, for them to congregate, they had to have somebody watch them to make sure that they weren't, contriving against, where they were, slave owners, anything else. So they had to have like one Caucasian or whoever owned the slaves. I would just say Caucasian because a lot of ethnicity owned slaves.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things like, hey, raise the finger up. Can I go use the restroom or ask permission to leave?
Oh, okay. Okay.
So we still doing,
and that's the thing about not knowing ourselves and not knowing history. So when we talk about people not knowing like the lack of self-identity, they're liable to go with anything. So, and just, kind of the way the wind blows or the trends. So you have, the days, this is really social media. And, I tell everyone the thing that's kept me from being on here so long is because I really don't like social media. I say it's like the adult show and tell. And it's like, hey, look what I got going on in my life. But that's why I try to use mine to either motivate, encourage, or, do something positive. But, I'm still using it. So, I have to at least see something positive about it to still be using it. It just depends on people, how people intend to use it. But that lack of self-identity was a long way. I want to ask this because this was a question that came up just before we got on the conversation about church. But being a Tulsan, how was it to have the centennial, I'll just say highlighted? Because at first to me, it just seemed like it was being celebrated. And I was like, how can we celebrate such a travesty that hasn't been discussed literally in 100 years? And when I came across the information, I was like, who would be capable of doing this to a community?
Soulless people. Okay, let me put that out there, please. Soulless.
That's a good word. Soulless. Mm-hmm.
Soulless.
So I just say, as someone from Tulsa, how was it for you to have that event go on this year, and some of the things, the attention that it brought?
Like I said, as a resident and left, my grandmother would have been 110 had she lived. So my aunts have told me, I grew up knowing the story. It wasn't like, I just learned this, within the last 2 years. I've known about it, and have always been confused as why we didn't know. Like, you don't have to. A lot of things that you teach as a parent, you don't learn in school. Your kids don't learn in school; they learn at home. And so, to me, why weren't we teaching it at home? Well, it was so tragic. Okay, I do get that, and I do understand that. But we also are entrusted to teach so that we don't repeat the same things.
Yeah.
And here, because again, the whole, I don't see my brother as my brother. so therefore he's my enemy. So I don't know how to give back. But everybody wants to claim Greenwood. To see film crews consistently down on Greenwood, it's been there. It's not like it just happened. They just started building. It's been there. It was disheartening for me. Like, yay, I want you to see it, but also you're not protecting it. Taking point, Black Wall Street Liquid Lounge. It's a Black-owned coffee shop. You have movie producers. You have different news cameras down there bringing in Starbucks. The owner having to tell them, do not come in here with something else. The whole idea of Black Wall Street is to circulate the dollar. And you bring in something from the outside, but yet want to exploit us to everyone. Are you serious? So for me, I was like, why are we celebrating? If we're going to celebrate, let's celebrate, with some, let's say back up. So I'm about to get real political with it. Let's celebrate let's celebrate with our dollars. Let's celebrate with our votes and vote some of these clowns out of here that don't need to be here. You like the night we had the visual that we were just commemorating that night and talking, and it was pouring down rain. When I tell you it was raining so hard, and you had white folks with mugs. Oh my gosh, it's cold out here. I wish I would have brought a blanket. And I'm thinking you would have been killed on the street. And not taking it to heart and just exploiting it. You had a city council, a guy that ran for city council, literally talking about a series that he could watch on TV instead of being there while he was standing there and the lady is praying. That night I broke down crying because I was just like, I can't. If it had rained like it was raining that night 100 years ago, we wouldn't even be probably having this conversation because Greenwood would still be here. And I'm thinking you wouldn't even be allowed to be over here because at this point we probably would have not wanted you over here. And to celebrate, I like Juneteenth. I always have a mixed feeling about that. Like, are we celebrating that they just learned? Or are we celebrating that somebody told them? Or that we didn't? What are we celebrating? Are we celebrating that they finally learned? And why did they finally learn? Who kept it a secret? Let's go get them. That's my thought. Like, I don't know why we're celebrating tragedy.
That's a good point.
I don't get it. And then trying to explain. I mean, my daughter asked me. She's like, "So we're celebrating that they didn't know?" And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, that's a good." I mean, when you hear from kids, that's the truth. Like, so we're celebrating that they didn't know, or are we celebrating that they just found out? And why are we celebrating that they just found out when it was 2 years before and nobody told them? I was like, you're right. You're right. But yeah, to see them exploited, like I said, the mural that's up, and it's like, oh, we're going to show you a mural of the tragedy that happened. Now everybody knows. I'm thankful for the Watchmen. I'm thankful for Lovecraft. I'm thankful for that, to put that out there. But I'm hoping that the story doesn't just die because it was 100 years. So now it's 100 years, we're done. And everybody, all the crews left. I mean, it was like mass exodus to leave because it was no longer no longer something that they could
exploit.
Put on their news.
Yeah. Right word. Exploit.
Yes.
Because what did they do to improve anything before they left? Right?
Yeah.
Hence.
I mean, it becomes like we have murals and we're going to put art up, and that's great. But those art statues are still very much in the community. Great, they're documenting how vast Black Wall Street was, but it's only in our community. So we are the ones to see. Look what you lost. Look what you lost. Not you're gaining thing. Look what you lost. And I'm like, no, we need to take it to the man. This is what we lost, and this is what we want back.
Right, and that's similar to the conversation that I see on floating around all the time about, okay, for instance, preachers, go kind of bring the church back in. Preachers, preach to us all day about, they want to come and preach to us all day about this is wrong, this is what we should be doing, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, but can you go tell the other people, because we can't do this by ourselves, right? We live it every day. You ain't even got to tell me. Yes. That's the epitome of you're preaching to the choir. Yes. We're the choir. We got it. Let's go over here. Let's go 10 miles east and see what we can tell those people.
Yes.
As you just said, we can't do it by ourselves. And
we can't.
I got so tired of like, felt like I was just beating my head against the wall when I was in Kentucky, trying to do certain things in Louisville and Lexington, Frankfort, Paducah. Yeah. I can keep going. There's a lot of, different cities.
The whole state.
And once again, shout out to those that, understood that I wasn't a threat and I was really trying to impact my community wherever I went. Shout out to y'all. But, you can't do it by yourself. When I went to Tulsa, for the Tulsa remote, I went there with the intention, like, yeah, let me be used as far as like my skill set.
Yeah.
But then one thing that I recognize as well, it's not good for man to be alone because he can't protect his side at all times. So while I'm going to like some of those circles and those institutions that people need to have certain conversations, and not just conversations, but action behind that, it takes a toll. Like either you can impact your environment or your environment will impact you. Mm-hmm. And when it became too detrimental to my health, I was like, hey man, let me back up for a minute. Like, yeah, I have passion. I have a huge heart and everything, especially for the trauma that still remains. As much as, the events were celebrated or just, they were celebrated in certain ways. But even with the trauma that was associated with the Tulsa the massacre, although people came in and tried to take advantage of that situation being highlighted, y'all came in love. That trauma still remains, and it shows up in so many other aspects of life. Hence the reason why, I started the mental health services. Hey, there's a lot of things that we need to discuss, especially we need to start with the youth, because they literally, it's not just tomorrow, they're today. Because I mean, you think about the pandemic and everything that brought about, they wonder why kids are going awry in school right now. You're forcing them into a situation that you don't even understand yet, and you're expecting their young minds to be able to understand that. I know I just went on a tirade. I can't help it. I'm passionate about certain things, so y'all forgive me. But can you speak to like the trauma that may still be in the area, just based because of having Black Wall Street there, then experiencing that loss, but still being there every day to see that? How do you think that has lasted over there over the years?
You want me to explain my trauma? I gotta look in the mirror. Oh gosh. I mean, to me, it's like, you still gotta fight the fight. A lot of times I feel like I am around some people that hear it with a shot. Yeah, I do. I mean, and it's us, and I love us at the same time. But I think for us, as a city that has not looked in the mirror and reconciled what has happened, who is actually at fault, it's very hard. It's hard to continue that fight. Like, yeah, we still want to, because I mean, we still have some of two of the descendants here, and we give them Nike shoes. They don't need Nike shoes. They need that land and everything that was promised to them, to their kids, to their great grandkids. That's what they need. They don't need a shoe. They don't need a trip. I mean, I appreciate them getting a trip to Africa, but their roots are right here also, and you haven't did anything to water the roots here. You sending them somewhere and doing this, but you're not giving them roots. And then that comes with the whole talk of reparations. We skipped to that, but what about reparations? I was like, first of all, can we first heal and know that if we work together, that we can get more as a group, as opposed to the two of the survivors going up, this group going up, until we learn how to actually come effectively together to have a solution, to look at each other and say, Michael Jackson, I'm looking at the man in the mirror. The man in the mirror is your sister and your brother, and not recognizing that actually could be me. That actually could be me on the corner with my kids. That actually could be me down the street that my house is about. We don't recognize that because, again, societies, social media, all of that has removed us from it is actually being social. And the whole point of social media is being social, like having a conversation. And that's the hardest part, to have an open, honest conversation that doesn't have to have those feel good moments. Like, yeah, G.T. Bynum, the mayor, you just now learned about the massacre. Your family owned slaves. Your dad was like, we're not going to have these same soft conversations if we come together and we know this is what happened, and and then what? I don't even want to start on the critical race theory, but because of we know your history. One of the mansion that I do the storytelling and comedy show was owned by Tate Brady, who was over the KKK, who started where the hill. It's just like, let's have these honest conversations. And as humans, we're not always ready to be open and honest, and because some of that is ugly, and we have to understand that the ugly is part of healing.
It really is. Yeah.
Did I address me? I don't know. Address me? I got lost. Like, wait a minute. And
Go with the flow.
Yeah, all of that is a part of the trauma that can't be denied, right? And you're right. We have to have the conversation. I think, and I hate to say it because it sounds cliche right now, but there's different levels to it, right?
It is.
So,
it is.
And a total transparent moment. I'm trying to figure out even how to address some trauma and stuff within my own family.
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't do that, we're never going to get to a conversation in the community.
Yeah, we still hiding the uncle that just don't go over his house because he do stuff. Instead of calling him out, we're not ready to have that conversation. And that's the part where we need to get to. Like, just don't go over the house is not helping my kid. But, well, why can't no uncle so-and-so?
Yeah. Yeah, so, just stay away from it.
Right.
That's a problem.
You're not saying that else.
Yeah, like that. Why are we staying away from so-and-so? Or, for the longest time, I didn't know what sugar was. I was like, what do you mean he got sugar? Like, they have sugar, like, over their house?
Uh-huh.
And I was like, when I moved to the South, I was like, sugar. And they was like, I said, what? You mean diabetes? I was like, what is... Because we didn't want to say it. I'm like, but if you don't even connect it with the problem, I'm going to keep eating what I'm eating. Duh.
And how benign is that compared to all the other things that we really could be talking about, right?
Yeah.
So you don't even reveal an illness that if heredity kicks in, it could kill me if I keep doing it, right? I know you're not getting ready to talk about the little girl that got touched wrong. Or the little boy who did. I mean, you're never going to talk about that.
You never will. Like, okay, like even take the word, we say the Tulsa massacre. It took years for them to say massacre because it was riot. Because riot evoked that it was both of our fault instead of you coming to kill us. You come to burn us up. So it's taken us to say massacre to get them to say massacre. Like, oh, that's a massacre. Like, oh, that was wrong, huh? Like I feel like they're saying like, oh, that was wrong. Like, because if I say riot, it's both of us. And it wasn't just me, it was also you. And I was like, so it's taken it took 2.5 years, I think. Don't quote me, for that to get changed. So we're not ready to have those conversations of, yes, it was your family that did this. Yes, your family was, you keep claiming that your family's been here for 100 years, but they had no part of this.
Or beneficiaries.
Yes. Or you have people that have insurance companies. So you've been here for 100 years, so you denied the claims when you didn't? You were one of those good ones? Oh, okay, Yeah. One of those, we don't like to look at that man in the mirror in real life. Woman, person, I don't know. Whatever you call yourself, you don't want to look in the mirror because that's the hard part.
So let me ask you this, on the strength of that.
Oh.
While I was there, I went through the process of purchasing a home, or at least attempting to. And then I really found out solely after, they were like, you are never going to get that property in that neighborhood. Which I was pre-approved, everything else, and literally an hour before closing, they said they just refused to sign off. But I experienced that, at least on from a primary aspect, forget my dog in the background. But then as recent, has had some conversations about how properties are being acquired in interesting ways. What do you think some of the effects from not only the massacre and of getting certain lands and moving certain people? Because when I got there, it was like all the Black people are north. Don't go south of a certain street. Mm-hmm. I'm like, this is 2021. Like, are you serious? Or at the time it was 2020. But can you speak to like some of the gentrifications with is happening across the country, some of the gentrification that's happening in that area? Because along with that also comes trauma as well.
Well, like I said, lived in the South. I went through the gentrification of the Olympics when they kicked all the Black people out of downtown, out of by CAU, by the AU Center, because it wasn't great, and then they brought all this housing in for the Olympics, and so now those people that can't even buy the property that they sold.
Right.
So fast forward, coming back here, noticing that property values are changing, people are moving in, people are moving out. And again, that goes to the village concept. You have an older relative that's in a house may be run down or may need some help. You don't have the younger kids, the uncles or the nieces, nephews coming to help fix it up. Yet and still, you have white folks moving in, so their property taxes are going up. Well, I'm on a fixed income, so I can either fix my stove, I can pay my property taxes. I'm gonna fix my stove and forget these property taxes until, and then the area that I'm in now is the Brady area. They want to call it different. They can call it Wayne Brady. It's still the same thing. The Brady district, where the houses that are on Denver by the mansion, those were houses where my grandmother actually worked as a domestic, walking to the house where she cleaned. And those houses now are premier houses, tripled in value, quadrupled in some, and being told that by investors, oh yeah, the house is not working well, sell it to me and I'll give you some cash and move on out. And that same family can't buy that back. But yet I'm hearing at community meetings, well, they taking it from us. No, they're not all taking it from us. Some of us are just giving this away right, because we don't want to deal with the upkeep. Even, y'all like, you could tear down a house and build it and you'll still have a new house. And then the other part of that, being told, like, so especially my street, there's been several houses that burned because crackheads were there. I was like, I haven't seen a crackhead since I went to Thanksgiving in Oklahoma City with my aunt. And that's the crackhead. But I hadn't seen one. But all of a sudden, they're abound and they're burning up houses. I was like, first of all, why would they burn up the place where they live?
Right.
Okay, the crackhead is just trying to get high. So if you know anything about it, they trying to stay wherever they are, low key. And then turn around and you can't buy that property. The property's not for sale for some reason. Fast forward 6 months later, it's a white family that's bought their property. It's the same property. And now you've turned it over. Now you've made a profit. You already have your money. And it continually creates that us against them and we don't have.
Yeah.
And I tell white parents all the time in our PTA meetings, that's probably why I don't get to go all the time. North Tulsa is so bad, such a bad place. I said, yet you drop your children off to Carver and Booker T, #1 schools in Oklahoma.
Listen.
In Tulsa, you drop them off. So you drop your precious asset, your most precious thing, in a place that's bad and crime ridden. As a parent, I'm gonna look at you crazy. But if I keep that narrative up, I can come in and buy, and you devalue it because what they're saying, but I'm valuing it because you're leaving.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, if they're interested in it, it's of value, right? So that's the point. Like, think people.
Yes.
If they're interested in your property, that means it's worth more than they're trying to offer you.
Dana, I can't tell you how many. I literally, I know now it's once a week. I'd like to buy your home. And I'm like, really? Well, it's not worth much. I said, well, you know, if you're an investor, you wouldn't buy stuff that's not worth anything. So,
right.
But because we don't know that, oh, I'm going to get some cash and I can go and I don't have to deal with it. Yeah, but you also can't return to your family home.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's still that whole, it's us against them. It's if I decrease the value of it, I'm gonna make you think the whole devil soulless part of white people, disappointed. Right. I'm gonna devalue it so you don't value it, so I can take it and destroy it, change it up, and you don't want it.
Yeah. So what that triggers for me is all the way back. I keep going back to the church. I think I have a thing.
The church.
There you go.
The church.
Hey, wait. Take it back. Hey, say your saying. Take it back. Sorry, please say your saying. I don't want to take it.
Take it back, because I'm like,
Sometimes you gotta take it back to where
the church, but the church was our cornerstone. So right. I get that it goes back because, okay, which is odd, and a lot of people may not know this. My mother I was raised in a Catholic church, like Catholic church, and then my dad, Fire and Brimstone Baptist Church, slammed that together with an uncle that's in the Black Panthers. That's why I'm a comedian. So, okay. So that's a whole different thing. But yeah, the church is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So here's my thought on that is, so if we are to educate people so they can make better decisions regarding their property, we are there, you know, yes. Especially my churches, everyone I know that I've been affiliated with is in the hood.
Yes.
Why would that now be the cornerstone of educating that community to not do what you just said? And you have the resources, those same people that are running out on Sundays, CJ, those same people that are peeling out of the church, those are those executives, and those are, you know, the other people. They come to the hood to go to church and then they live somewhere else. That's perfectly fine. What information are you leaving before you peel out? And so, and I can say that as one who tried my best to have seminars and workshops and all of these things, financial related, but even business related, and, you know, small business Sunday at the church, and have people have all of that. And the church didn't support it. Right. So if they want to be the cornerstone, they got to incorporate all of that and be full service to the people in that community.
That's it.
Right. And so I think that's a part of it is you have to support those educational opportunities for the people, because I could come in all day. I'm a realtor as well, as along with the financial advising, to tell you all day what you need to do as far as your real estate is concerned. But if the church don't support it and don't announce it, it's free information. But if y'all don't put it in the program or put it on the screen, who's coming?
I've only had one supporter.
If you can't help me put flyers on the door for the 3 blocks surrounding us within the radius, what are we doing?
Right.
You know what? I don't get that. Like I said, I've been in an entrepreneurial group, and well, how do we get this information? I said, are we still looking for the griot? Y'all open your mouth. We still looking for the drum. I was like, you got a whole mouth. The whole thing in your hand is a tool to use, and we not using it. I'm like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
I feel like
not the right thing.
Hearing you say that, I feel like because I was going on a tangent yesterday. I feel like we are being retaught slavery in several senses. One way, okay, so we got the self-checkout, right? They made it sound good, like you can hurry up and get through. Well, I'm working for myself now. I'm working. It's your job. So white people got my mind. Oh, I'm working. I'm getting fast. I'm working. I came here to shop for convenience. Then you've taken like, oh, we're doing farm to table. That's how most of our family was raised. We grew it on the farm and we put it on the table. But now it's a new concept. It's a new concept for us. Like, oh my goodness. So I think sometimes that because we don't know how to sow seeds, we don't even know how to grow our own vegetables, we don't know how to grow anything, if we haven't learned that once you put that seed in the ground and you tend to it and you nurture it and you keep going back to it, it's going to produce. We know, oh, I just go pick it up. So again, I'm just go to the church and pick up some information. I leave. I don't never have to worry about bringing nothing in. I don't have to worry about saving information, helping anybody else, because we're not taught to farm, to sow for our own selves. Okay.
Ooh, that's a good point.
The workers are few. The harvest is great, but the workers are few.
Yeah. And the thing is, to be honest, the harvest ain't that great right now.
Yeah.
We have to talk about the truth, though. A lot of people don't want to accept that.
Yeah, I agree.
When I'm trying to convince my sisters, buy a house. You haven't moved anywhere in over 30. Buy a house. Oh, I can't afford. I said you can't afford a house, but you can afford rent. You can afford a car. Like what? Because it was not a value. Because I was like, oh my gosh, how do I educate you? That's why I feel like, how do I educate you on your value? Like, how do we? And like CJ said, well, you got to start with kids, because if they don't see themselves as a value, why am I value anybody else?
Somebody will exploit their value.
Yeah,
they
and then you end up with, all the crime and suicides, and run the gambit of things that are going on right now that are a result of not valuing yourself, and then therefore not valuing me,
right,
or you, or CJ.
Yeah, that's the hard part. Like my nephew committed suicide this year.
Sorry,
21. At Morehouse, raised in the church, mom and dad. So if he's not seeing the value in himself, where are we failing? And everybody, the church. I was like, but no, you was a preacher's kid. You in the church up more than you probably at school a lot of times. So there's an impact that we're not getting. And that, again, to me, is that ugly part. Like, hey, we're not dealing with this, because that might touch on somebody's feelings. That might make somebody feel a certain way. Let's go over here and do the soft fluff stuff. Let's get over here where I don't have nobody to turn to. Oh, you'll be all right. Just pray over. No, why don't you feel like that? Who would you like to speak to? We're not doing those conversations.
Yeah.
Hey, just on the strength of that, I myself have experienced a lot of people that have committed suicide. So to all those family members that had to, still deal with that, because it's, somebody just left. Sometimes you don't get closure like that. Moment of silence to, all those souls, because when I speak to people, I hear it happening more often. So there's a moment of silence to all of them that, still dealing with it, that lost people that, to suicide, and those that, maybe thinking about it. Hey man, life is worth it. Stay alive. So just a moment of silence to those people.
Okay.
Yeah, so because that's actually a subject area that's actually very close to me. I don't often share this, but at the same time, hey, there was a time where I was in that space. Came back from college, and they say, come, go off and get that knowledge and come back to your community. I did that. I tried to come back, and just the way I was received, not only from the community that, I felt I came from, that was part of me, but then also society, like the constant harassment by police, being followed, constantly being pulled over for stuff getting thrown my way, and me just having to take it because I didn't know my legal rights. It's like, man, if you're a Black male, I think we all should be able to take the bar by now for all the laws we have to learn on our own, because we're not taught. But just being a survivor of that, I thank God for life. But
amen.
Just for you to bring that conversation up, that's even part of the conversation we were talking about, us not knowing certain things, or the community not sharing with us. All right, there's a reason why you shouldn't go over there to this person, or at least by this house, because there was a number of students that I had the privilege of meeting that had to deal with molestation and certain things, and that stuff, it still remains. Although the act has came and went, the trauma still remains. And I think about, some of the students that have committed suicide that, I had an opportunity to know, but, I left the school, and then this happened often, a number of times where, I'd be in conversation with one of the students one of the other fellow students, and they're like, hey, so-and-so committed suicide. I'm like, what? I'm like, this person has so much to live for, so much potential. And I immediately was like, what were they going through? Because, oftentimes you say, I'm gonna go back to the church. They say that's a place where you should go to, to receive help, receive encouragement, to feel like you're a part of something. But now we come into a space where more and more people are leaving the church because they don't feel heard. Certain things, I would just go with it and not explaining why things are the way they are. Once again, lack of information and conversation. There was a number of times I've tried to go to, the older males. Like, hey, man, I don't have a mentor. I know I want to do certain things, but I may not know how to go about it. Iron sharpening iron. But then we talked about people peeling off. Some people say, I'm not trying to have a conversation. So that, the rejection, and then feeling in a space where you feel like you don't have anyone to talk to. That's a lonely space. So I always heard, if you really want to make a change, you must change, start with self, start with your family or those, your circle, then community, statewide, nation, and et cetera, as much as it can go. But some of us, and I just say us, I'll just include all of us because we're all, connected in certain ways. We may get past ourselves, but getting past the family dynamic that may still be dysfunctional.
Yeah.
We're getting past the family dynamic, secrets that were never shared. And then, adults find out about information like, feels like my whole life's a lie.
Yeah.
So lack of conversation. I know I went on for a little bit, but
yeah, we still stuck. And you're right. I think we can do a pretty good job with self, right? At a certain point, hopefully we can, and hopefully we can teach others. But that family, I mean, we won't even. We got people still saying the F word regarding gay folks. We still have people, calling people the D word when it comes to lesbians. I mean, whether I agree with the lifestyle or not, I'm so not going to be, what do I want to say? What is the word I'm looking
Unrespectful
for?
Of their choice.
Disrespectful. They gotta make that choice. There are plenty of things I do on a daily basis that God might not be pleased with. And that's between me and him, right? But that you not pleased with it, okay, well, look at yourself. Mm-hmm. Worry about that, right? But if we can't get those things, I mean, there's so much just within the family dynamic that has to be healed before we can deal with community. And I think that's our biggest hindrance. I think that really is it. I think a
lot of times, like, we just learned that it's okay to go to therapy. Like, I feel like we just learn as people, like, it's okay to be in therapy because everybody else, they talk to a therapist. You need to talk to God. God don't answer me sometimes. He put me on hold a lot of times. Like, hey, you made that choice. I told you who to go talk to. You didn't do it.
That's the point. Yeah, he's like, no, I already told you what to do. But put all the professionals in place.
Yeah, I already told you. Why you over
go
here?
See. Yes.
No, I think we're scared of that because, like I said, we just now learning to be okay with therapy. We just now learning to be okay with being, not having to be a strong Black woman all the time. We just not like, oh, okay, we're just now this
right
having those conversations, not even dismantling, having those conversations that I think that, like I said, as a village we lost because integration one, we took hold, well, so-and-so stuff is better than mine, or so-and-so's is better than than this person's. The shoe shine place that I used to go to is not better because now I can go down here and get my shoes dropped off and I'm living the life. I'm projecting the image of what I got. It's just
the white man's ice is colder.
There you go. Sure. They got cool lemonade and I got hot iced tea. It's not the thing. I think we have not recognized how spectacular we are as people. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm like, if you list over stuff, I tell people all the time, like, man, I have a women's group. I didn't say that. Let's keep coming up with jobs.
The list gets longer.
Where we sit and we are honest, like, write down 3 things you're proud of yourself, whether it be you put on your bra right, or you drove correctly and you made all the stuff. That the little thing I said, let's look at what you overcame, even the little bitty things, and then be happy about that. And we like, oh, that's just a thing you do. No, but it took an effort. You could have drove 75 in the 55. I mean, but we know the decision, but you didn't. So let's look at that. We are scared to hold ourselves accountable.
Man, accountability. Oh my God.
Right.
Don't even get started on that.
Let's not, because I realize as a Creek Nation person, my family owned slaves. I was like, what? Huh? No. Not brother, sister to the night. What do you know? And just but then having to realize during that time, that's what this section did. And I was like, okay, I have to own that. And learning how to own even the bad parts about yourself, the flaws ain't always bad. Sometimes they fill in the cracks of what you didn't know, and you can learn from it.
True.
Hey, I didn't know how much I needed counseling until I went to my counseling program. The very first class, I was like, I need a hug. Like after the first class, I was like, man, I didn't know I have all this stuff going on. So it forced me to, look at myself in a certain way that, I didn't know otherwise. But that sense of accountability is so real.
Yeah. And I want people to go away with accountability can be positive and negative, because I think that's what both of you are getting to as well. I can tell you Sunday school, one of the best books that I read years ago was Makeover from Leftovers, right? Something like that. And one of the exercises in that book required me to look at and list out everything I've survived. If we could do that, when I tell you that was life-changing, because you don't think about that stuff. And to your point, Sondra, you the small things and then big things, but life-changing. So I'm challenging the two of you before the end of this year. Make a list of the things that you have survived, because you talk about king and queen and all of these things. Yeah, okay. And some of that's overplayed right now. No, for real.
Yeah.
And if we could, as a community, do that and build from there, that would be awesome.
Because I think I have a comedian that always does. He always talks about kings and queens. And I said, sometimes, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I said, sometimes I've been the jester. I've been the jester in the court. I was playing the fool, acting. I said, and I have to own that too. That's part of it. That's part of the stuff that I didn't want to own. But like my friend, she wrote and we'd always talk about how beautiful she was. Always dressed. I said was. She's always dressed, always on point. And she wrote a book called A Dressed Up Mess. And she was like, and because we talked about it, she's like, I was dressed to the nines. You couldn't tell me that. But inside I was a crumbling mess. And I'm like, I mean, I knew as her friend, but I was just like, some of the stuff, I was like, what, girl, why? Yeah. But that flaw, that outside image was everything is together. I'm all in order. Everything is okay. And I'll be all right. And
and we are so quick to point out that those things in other people. And so that's why that introspection is required for us to progress.
Yes.
Can't keep looking at everybody else. It's you. You're the common denominator.
Hey, that's why I kept pointing myself while you were talking. And hence, look, this is the reason for this very design. This is like part of the Black Regal collection.
Yeah.
It's a crooked crown, but it's a crown nonetheless.
Right.
I didn't understand my worth. When you start understanding your worth, although society may look at us crooked or whatever else, we are still royalty in many respects. And plus, royalty, depending on how you look at royalty. But having to look at yourself in that sense of accountability, I'm like, tell everybody, hey, I'm not perfect by any means. I'm just, I just get up every day and try to be a little better than I was the day prior. But looking in the mirror, sense of accountability. Like you said, Dana, often, you look at the news right now, if we can take any of the stories that's out, let's focus in on the negative, and we're just going to try to feed on that because they know that's going to get ratings. They know that's going to be able to drag out. Think about Kobe when he passed. Celebrating a life, they're going to bring up something that was already taken care of beforehand. Yes. They didn't have a problem cheering for him, when he was playing.
Right.
As soon as he passed, they're going to have to bring that into the conversation. So, yeah.
And I didn't necessarily mind. So I might be of a different mindset, but I didn't necessarily mind them bringing it up. It's how you do that, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And I remember I made a post about it because of the whole uproar, and Snoop, I won't say the word that he did, but he made me very, very, very angry about his approach to that because I think you can talk about it because that was a part of his life. And for me, I think that was a turning point in his life that made him as great as he was after. So you can't have Kobe's story and not say it, but it's how you say it. And if you're not going to address, like you said, it was taken care of, chick accepted whatever she accepted, he moved on and had this family, and now they're suffering. Because at a certain point, if you're bringing it up just to be mean, then who are you really hurting? He's not here. And his baby's not here. So who are you hurting by doing that, right?
That's what we
want to do is keep the trauma going.
Right. Yes. You make a great point though, because
that's the thing of media. Let's keep it going because without that, I don't have a headline if I don't have any drama with you.
Yeah, I mean that goes to the same thing. So I've been following all of this quote unquote negative press about my dear soror Kamala and Madam Vice President, I should say, and it's stupid. Why? And so people are speaking out, but there needs to be something. Why are we talking about headphones? Why are we talking about a pot that she bought? She got money. She can buy a pot if she wants it. She didn't go buy a pot.
Are they going to what's his name over Tesla saying something to him? Are they going? No, they're not.
No.
Are they going over Bill Gates? Because Melinda ain't with her no more, so I know he balling out of control. But we're not saying nothing about that.
Nothing.
So how about the media? I think
it's media.
I think we trickled over into that topic.
Yeah, it's media, but it's them putting out what they know that we will consume. So it's our fault for consuming it.
Yes.
I mean, once again, the phrase "you are what you eat."
Yeah.
Your program, you're being force fed certain things.
Yeah.
And when you're not thinking about it, you're thinking about it. You don't even realize it. Anybody up on Sigmund Freud, look up his nephew, Bernays. And he's the one that first brought the ideology of, people's intentions. So Sigmund Freud thinking about the mind, all right, what drives people in certain areas. His nephew saw a business opportunity. Well, let me see how I can cater to people's cognitive awareness for them to force them to buy it without them realizing it. I haven't had cable since 2010. That's when I started the master's program. I was trying to eliminate every distraction.
Yeah.
And, seeing that after I've done that, I've seen a lot of changes. So with that said, how do you see the sense of media right now, especially with, people being more at home because of the pandemic and how that has been used? This question's for anybody.
I deal with I work for a social media team. I think every time I open my mouth, I'm gonna say it.
Something else.
I stopped writing stuff down about 10 minutes ago because you just keep adding to them.
Now you understand why I was
like,
you have to introduce yourself. It's too many. It's too much stuff.
You nobody list all that stuff, girl.
You know what? When you said write a list, I was like, I gotta write that. Like I don't. If I write it, I probably would be scared. I'm like, let me start telling people no.
But I work. You probably need to do that.
And that's kind of what I need to do. That is, you hit that.
Trust me. Yeah, you probably do. But okay, go ahead.
I work for social media. We're in charge of doing getting tweets and Instagram and Facebook and we do that. I know it works because it pays also, and it gets more people involved. The flip side of that is I've had to be encouraged because I am an introvert that can do extroverted things. So everybody assumes because I'm on stage, that's me 100% of the time. I'm like, no, it's not. But I also know that being on social media, you have to exude some type of social presence. You have to be social. I think as far as, and which is funny, on the flip side, neither one of my kids, they not on Facebook. They're not. One is on Instagram. And they use it. My son has a platform. He talks about cybersecurity. He has a whole YouTube channel. I'm like, wait, how many followers you got? Hold on, let me get one of your followers. I'm trying to grab hold. But
spread the love.
Yeah, I was like, just give me a couple. But he actually told me, he said, I'm using it so I can teach. And she's like, Mom, you only show people what you want them to see, which it's supposed to be entertaining. And a lot of times we take the news and it has to be entertaining. Or we're not gonna follow, i.e. the drama. I'm gonna talk about Kobe, but I'm also gonna slam his name at the same time. In the social concept, like I'm gonna get you in, and then I'm gonna slam this, and then I'm gonna bring you back. But it's entertaining. It got you going. I don't know. I think social media. Oof, I hope Cheryl never sees this. That's my mentor. She knows. She has to force me sometimes to take pictures to do so that I am present. But I also know that for me, as a Black woman, not seeing myself in those platforms on TV when I was a little girl did something to me. Like, well, am I not? I devalued myself because I wasn't seen. So it's like a cycle. Like, I think the world has looped us in this cycle. What's popping is what's popping. If you're not popping and you're not on, that you're not of value. And it's like, but at the same time, I'll Dapper Dan. That was, y'all talked about him, then you didn't want him to do it, and then you jacked the style. So it's like, I'm going to keep you in the loop where I want you to be seen, but I'm also keep you on the loop where I don't want you to be seen. Okay. I'm just now thinking about the 18 jobs out of the name.
18. I think it's 20. We just haven't gotten to those other. That's what I think.
Thank you, Dana. I'm gonna write my list. I'm gonna just
check it twice since we're in that season.
Dana, you see why I was like, I'm gonna just have her introduce herself because
that was best because there's no way.
Somebody actually asked me that. They asked me like, "What do you do?" And I named out 3 things. They was like, "That you know of?" And I was like, "No." And I'm like, as I'm talking to you all now, I'm like, I might need a list and. Some folks gonna be disappointed next year. Like, oh no, y'all changed your access to me. No, thank you. No.
Listen, change your access. Oof. I love it.
Yeah, change your access to me.
Your access code is denied.
I told CJ I had to change some people's phone names in my phone.
Don't answer.
Waste of time. This is a waste of time.
Waste of time. Mm-hmm. I have somebody in my phone that it meant nothing. Yes.
See, that's
I need to get it on right now. Start changing some names.
Absence.
Change the name so you don't even answer.
Inconsistent. That's what I need.
All this other
and
stuff,
actually, you just reminded me. I need to change somebody to owes me some money.
Mm-hmm. There you
go. Yes, absolutely.
Since we are making humor of something that's real, let's talk about. The comedy scene just for a second. We're talking about media and also the healing that the comedy can do, and has done to for a lot of individuals. So, just with everything we're talking about right now, how has comedy? How's your experience doing comedy with business? Just doing shows. Tell us a little bit about that.
Comedy is great. The business of comedy, not so much. Being a comic, you look at things a little differently. Like I find humor and stuff is not supposed to be funny. Like I take my nephew's funeral, like sad moment, but I was like, there's about 18 preachers up there. Like churches ain't busy. Like that in my mindset, that's what I was going. They were like passing. They're like, okay, well, I'm gonna put 100 in. Like each pastor was topping each other. I was like, hey, stuff like that. So comedy for me is great. It's actually my form of therapy. I never got in it to be a comic. I was just telling a story about some church ladies. Go back to the church that did me wrong, and I won a contest, and that's how I got started. But I think, and for me as a female comic, that's also a whole different topic. You go into spaces, and everybody knows about the Me Too movement. If you have seen anything on TV, yet still you have club owners, you have different producers of shows still trying to one up. I'm like, something that MC Roxanne told me Roxanne Shante, matter of fact, in New York told me long time ago, before I even thought about entertainment, she was like, don't never strip down to come up. And I hold that true. Never strip down to come up. Because you are propositioned, you are offered different things for stage time. Comedy in itself is different as a female, because most people think female comics only think one way. They can only talk about one thing. They can only bring and then being a Black female comic, like you said, dang, there's levels to it, being a Black female comic also, a lot of times I'm in a room with nothing but white comics, male and female. And I've been in rooms with white comics where we're in a particular side of town, and they're like, well, I'm not South Tulsa friendly, which is all white. And I'm like, well, no, none of these people look like me. Zero. Might be one comic in the back and a lady in here getting hot wings that happen to look like me, but I still have to go in those rooms, and I still got to relate to everybody. I still have to find topics that make them laugh, and that they get to know me as a person, quote unquote. I say person. And we don't talk about that in comedy. Right now they consider having one Black person and one person of the LGBTQ community as having a diverse show. And they're like, oh, we have a diverse show. And I was like, no, that's not. Your audience actually needs to be diverse as well as your comedians.
Right.
And like you said, like giving out free advice, like, no, you paying for this. You want me to tell you how to run a show? You paying for this.
That's a consultation fee.
Yeah, advice is not free. Now what? And then but comedy in itself is hilarious, because most comics look at their family, i.e. the trauma and family, for comedy. Like I joke about my cousins all the time. My kids joke about me all the time, whether I know it or not, but it's about that. And then being a Black comic also, haven't been labeled, because I work with a lot more white people, being labeled not a Black comic. I was like, okay, well, I don't know how you figure that, but being told I'm not a Black comic because, I'm not getting on stage and bending over and twerking. That's not me. Right. But like you said, levels. It's levels of comedy that I never knew. And I'm sure it's some that I haven't gotten to that I guess I want to see. I want to see. It's different stages I do want to see. But comedy, for most comics, if you hear, it's our therapy. It's our way of laughing about the stuff that goes on in the world and making people take time to laugh. Laughter is the best medicine, I think. I mean, if I laugh, like I said, the good thing I did today was put on my bra. Bad thing was I put on the wrong color that didn't match. You know what I'm saying? It's just stuff like that. Like the things that you look at. I think comedy in itself is great. I wish people would. I know the pandemic is very much present. People would get out, and there would be a lot more virtual shows where people could just sit at home and laugh, because I think that takes away some of the day-to-day stress that we deal with. I listen to old comics. I listen to Mom's Mabley, Richard Pryor. Probably shouldn't listen to Pryor. But Rudy Ray Moore, that's my man. I don't care what nobody say. Rudy Ray Moore. So I listen to them because I think that some of their stories still resonate. Like Richard Pryor growing up you might not grow up in a whole house, but your mama was not making bread all the time. You know what I'm saying? She was doing some other stuff. So I think comedy is great. For me, it's changing to more writing. Which I enjoy that a lot more, because, like I said, introvert that can do extrovert things. Yeah, as much stage time as I'm on, I need that much time to re-energize myself at the same time. So
Totally
I
get.
have learned to slow down, Dana. I have learned to say no to something.
You were doing more than you're doing now.
I am planning my show for Friday, which is a storytelling event. And it's going so much more smoother because I had to get the kinks out the first time. You know what? I just now thought I said kinks. Like kinks was bad. Hold on. Okay, that's a whole nother thing. You know, like we say kinks, like that's bad, like that's the glue. But I'm not planning that. I'm just using social media as a forum to get people. I only have one show that I'm doing, and I'm preparing for another show for February. A comedy burlesque show. So I am taking those times. I'm like, no, I'm not going to be able to do your show because I also have to do time for me. I also have to do that. Mm-hmm. And occasionally I'm a mom. So
yeah,
I am taking time.
Okay. I'm going to check with you on January 2nd.
Wait, give me the 8th. Wait, it's an 8th.
Awesome.
I might celebrate too hard.
Okay, gotcha. Understood.
Oh, that's another part of comedy I did not touch on. A lot of comics are either trying to be sober or they on the whole other side. And that is a part that has thrown me as an individual. I'm not against drinking. I'm not against smoking or whatever you want to do. Nothing about that. It's the fact that sometimes for me to see the level of how much some of them are drinking, how much they're doing this in order to get past the pain that they're not dealing with and to be funny on stage. I'm like,
yeah.
Comics need therapy. Hell, that's what it is.
So just like the mental health professionals probably need counselors too. Yeah. So the comics need.
Listen, all the stuff that I take on, because you have secondary trauma as well when you speak to people. So that's why you need to speak to somebody. I have, before in the past, and I'll, keep it current, when it's needed. Because to just walk around and not, deal with it, it's literally like a pot boiling. Sooner or later, it's going to come out, but it may not come out in the right way. So trying to be preventative rather than just reactive. So you made a great point just about how some people can cope. Because even prior to that, I was just thinking, I'm like, man, all the different hats and the different things that the two of you do, that was going to bring me to like a question about, the state of Black women in America. But I know that, we're going way past time, but at the same time, I don't, that's a topic that I try to stay out of because I'm not a woman. I just try to speak and at least have the conversation be available for those that, can identify. Because once again, I don't think you all get the credit you all deserve. But at the same time, I'm not your enemy to many of the other ones. So just trying to be their support. So
yeah.
Appreciate you.
So I
don't know. We need a whole afternoon.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like that, like you said, Dana, there's levels to that. There's a whole
possibly with some alcohol and snacks. Because we're going to get hungry talking about that.
Yes, because I'm going to be over here with my cup talking about, wait a minute.
That's a whole nother thing, yeah.
That's a whole nother, I mean, like, just a quick point, like I said, some of the club owners don't realize that, hey, Me Too movement is around. So I make sure that if I'm at a club that I'm not sure of, I have a male comic that has my back, that will walk me to my car, that will stand there while club owners talking to me. And I'm like, but do I have to do that? And I know some of that, yes, I do. Protecting Black women.
Right.
Whose job is that? No, we ain't gonna get into that. We ain't gonna.
Hey, you see, I make products strictly for that. So we'll promote that another time.
I have been called out on some of that. I had one, they were like, what happened to the other one? I was like, that's a whole nother.
So I'm gonna have to show you data. I make these.
Yeah, please show her, because I was like, that sounded.
So
yeah,
because it sounded like I had something that I shouldn't have had. But
so this is actually a bracelet that I started making for women specifically because I heard a story. A woman in Houston. It was one of the driving services. I'm not sure which one.
Yeah.
But she found herself in a predicament where she didn't have anything to protect herself, and the driver was acting some kind of way. So from that, I was like, hey, I need to make something just for women to have, because I have two sisters. I have countless of female cousins and little sisters and everything else. So I made this, and I called it Daddy's Little Girl. You can actually wrap it around your wrist, wear it as a bracelet like that, or you just put on your keychain and just keep it with you, or just whatever luggage or baggage or whatever you have, purse. And the importance of protection. That's just one of the basic needs for a human to have. Protection.
I was taking mine and twirling it around as I was leaving. So, they like, what is that? And I was like, just get close.
I was thinking, how much damage can I do with that? Okay.
Yeah, that was like, get close and I'll show you.
I'm a fine.
I got you. I told you. I got you, Data.
Okay.
So,
awesome.
I try to, share that message. And also, I was going to come to a place where I was going to start teaching classes of how to use it and everything else. So be on the lookout for that.
We need it.
So part 2, we had to do a part 2 because I'm poke for the data a little bit too. She asked me what my experience has been with women in Tulsa. It's my only. See, Sondra's already laughing.
My God, she put her head down in her hand.
I was saying it was interesting. So we talk.
But I tell them, I said, decision is your decision. Decision is your decision.
So yeah. We'll save some of those terms that we've come to know for the second part, because that's going to be a whole nother conversation. But I did want to include, the state of Black women in America, because
we will.
It's very important. But I can understand it being, many layers to it. So, but before we go, many hats has been expressed. Where can the people find you as far as to support you? Where can they find shows and things of that nature?
You can find everything on Facebook, Sondra Slade, SLADE. They can find it on Instagram. I have not been allowed TikTok by my kids, so for that they don't allow me to get too crazy. But yeah, Sondra Slade, Twitter, Instagram. Facebook, same thing. And I have YouTube. I have more of my stories on YouTube. And I do more stories. I don't do a lot of my jokes on YouTube just because that's the one area that I struggle in. That's the one area that I don't put everything out. I don't put everything out there. There's levels to access. So
come on with the levels.
Levels to the access. Just come to a show, or sometimes I do.
Exactly.
Definitely, everyone support this woman. I support her as well as
I do too.
Dana. Yes. So Dana, where can
particularly my I'm sorry, my storytelling thing is our voices, our way. Our words are way. And I created that because I do storytelling around. I even do it virtually, but a lot of times my audience does not look like me. And I feel like us as people, we tell the best stories because we animated, we talk girl, you know what I'm saying? It's a whole different feel, and those nuances are not always welcome or understood in those other audiences.
Sure.
So for me, I got started listening to You Had Me at Black as a podcast, and it's all Black stories. And I was like, and I got to actually meet the creators of that, and they continually encouraged me to do it. And I was like, I want to do it because I feel like a lot of times our stories go unheard because it's not in their way. and I want our words our way. Whether you're gonna sing it, I mean, all of our genres are words. Whether it's rap, poetry, spoken word, storytelling, we all tell stories, and the media doesn't see it as ourselves telling stories. Like they think spoken word is angry.
Right.
Spoken word. Because it's not light and lush and full of rhyming syllables in their way, it's not our story. It's not a.
As my best friend would say, full of rainbows and unicorns.
There you go. There you go.
Deal with every day. So it can't be.
It can't be.
Right. Definitely. Yeah, appreciate you for sharing that, Sondra. So, I mean, once again, to all the people, if you run across a name or see, an upcoming show, storytelling, also people at the Manor, hey man, shout out to you all. I appreciate the conversation, and appreciate you all for doing what you are doing in the community. So definitely continue to keep it up. So and also definitely continue to support Dana, Branham as well. Then where can they find you?
I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Twitter and Instagram is at one Dana Chanel, because there's only one. And on Facebook, just my name, Dana S. Branham. You can find me there. But those tips are going to end at the end of the year. I just need to put that out there just so
I'm going to jump on that.
You got 3 weeks. But they'll be out there for history's sake, but my face will not be, it won't be new in the new year.
That's what's up.
Shouts out, because I mean, the advice you're giving should not be free, because if you can pay for a Starbucks and a Michael Kors bag, you can pay for some advice on how to save.
Absolutely.
Oh, facts. Yeah. So yeah, everybody else, I guess I'll share mine as well.
Yeah.
Follow me on Instagram, Facebook. You'll see the description and everything else, but I'll go ahead and say it for those that are listening audio. Catch me on Facebook, CJ Ward. Catch me on Instagram. I would have used CJ Ward, but it was already taken. So I had to use official CJ Ward. So you find me there. And also we talked about mental health services and mental health awareness. I have a company that's dedicated to individual counseling, group counseling, and mentorship, specifically for young males, but just not excluded to. So feel free to, share that information, use that resource. You can also check me out on the website, www.cjwardcreations.com, for that and some other services. So continue to support each other, continue to support my special guests, continue to support my co-hosts, and continue to support this conversation with your attention and also, sharing of the word. So does anyone have any last thoughts or anything? Because I know we have to do a part 2 based on the subject matter.
We'll come back.
There we go. All right.
We'll be back.
In closing, I appreciate everyone for their attention and, being able to join together until the next conversation. I hope this message reaches you well and helps you along the way. Be encouraged and make this day, evening, or night a great time. Until next time.
Nothing ever was handed, all about respect, never about ego. Wish I could have retired a long time ago and disappeared way beyond the trees. But my homies kept influencing me, said they needed to hear my lyrics, like my flow, cause they felt my spirit. Plus the people needed to hear it, a conversation with conscientious lyrics.